Join me today as I bake a stunning pink velvet champagne cake completely from scratch, the perfect showstopper for your New Year's Eve celebration. I'm Kat, owner of Charmin Chic Baking, and welcome to my channel. I'm using this pink or rosé sparkling wine, which is a brut, so not too sweet, but you can use a rosé prosecco, or if you really want to splurge, a rosé champagne like Veuve Clicquot. To a medium bowl, combine the cake and pastry flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. I'm using cake flour to make the cake velvety soft, and the baking soda is needed as the champagne is acidic, so it will help make it rise higher. Slowly and carefully pop open the sparkling wine by twisting the cork as you hold it down. Never point the bottle towards someone, or worse, towards yourself. Then pour 1 cup without the bubbles. You can then save the rest by adding a bottle stopper or even a piece of aluminum foil, but you'll need to drink this within a day. In a stand mixer fitted with a paddle attachment, add the oil, sugar, and egg whites. I'm using only egg whites to keep the cake light and also whiter so that the pink color stands out more. I use oil as opposed to butter to make the cake moist and not crumbly. Besides, we don't want the butter flavor, only the champagne. Give it a good whip until light and fluffy. Next, we're going to add the flour mixture, 3 tablespoons at a time, alternating with the champagne or sparkling wine. This ensures a well mixed and properly textured batter. Then add the clear vanilla and sparkling wine flavor for a little boost, but you can omit it. I'm using clear vanilla so that it doesn't add any color to my white batter. Finally, add the pink color. I'm using Wilton's Rose Pink Gel. Be sure to add a little more than your desired shade as the color tends to fade slightly during baking. Make sure to use a new toothpick every time you add more color so not to contaminate the gel. Mix well to evenly disperse the color. I always weigh my batter, starting with 350 grams in each pan that's greased with cake goop and lined with parchment paper. Each layer ends up being 390 grams for 6-inch pans. While the cakes are baking, make the white chocolate cream cheese frosting. This frosting doesn't use any butter or icing sugar. It's both sweetened and stabilized by the white chocolate that you won't even taste, so in case you don't like white chocolate. I'm using Calabo Calettes that I previously used and hardened, so I'm just finally chopping it up. Weigh the cream and bring it to a boil. I'm using 35% whipping cream. Pour the hot cream over the chopped chocolate. Then stir to completely melt the chocolate to form a ganache. In a medium bowl, mix the room temperature cream cheese with a mixer until light and fluffy. Then add the warm ganache a little at a time, continually mixing until the frosting is smooth and creamy. This is my go-to cream cheese frosting that I use for carrot cake and the classic red velvet cake as well. The mixture will be smooth and slightly warm. You'll need to chill this before using, so place a piece of plastic wrap directly on top of the frosting and chill until ready to use, at least 4 hours to overnight if you're going to be freezing the cakes. Once the cakes are baked, cool on a wire rack for 10 minutes before releasing them from the pans. Run a knife or offset spatula around the edges and the cakes will easily release. The first one has a ridge because of parchment paper folded under the batter, so you can avoid this by lightly greasing the bottom of the pan so that the parchment paper sticks. Allow the cakes to cool completely before leveling, at least 2 hours and preferably frozen overnight to make it easier to decorate. Once the cakes are completely cooled and the frosting well chilled, it's time to decorate. Whip up the chilled frosting to make it light and fluffy. If your frosting is too soft, you can add a little melted white chocolate without the cream or a little bit of powdered sugar. The frosting should look like buttercream. I add the frosting to a piping bag fitted with a coupler to make even layers of filling, or you can freeball it. Add the frosting to the top and sides to crumb coat. You can either pipe on the frosting or use an offset spatula, whatever you're most comfortable with. Keep spreading the frosting on the top and sides, pressing into the cake to fill in the gaps. Notice how the cake wobbles a bit. It's because the cake layers are still a little bit warm. Normally, I freeze them before, so lesson learned. I'm going to chill the cake for an hour before continuing on. Use a scraper to smoothen the frosting, pressing into the cake. This can sometimes be the longest part of cake decorating, getting that perfectly smooth cake. But don't worry too much if you're a beginner. We'll be adding another layer of frosting to this anyways. I'm going to show you how to make an ombre effect, starting with medium pink frosting. Use only oil-soluble color as there is a lot of fat in this frosting and a gel color may not mix in well. Spread the pink frosting on the bottom third of the cake and don't worry about it not being even. Just spread it all around the cake as we'll smoothen it out later. Then add some white frosting to the leftover pink to lighten it and make an ombre effect. I usually do a 1-to-1 ratio. Add this frosting to the middle third of the cake, overlapping the bottom layer slightly. Then lighten the rest of the pink frosting again for the top layer of the cake. Add this to the rest of the cake, including the top. Then use a scraper to smoothen and blend the colors together to create the ombre effect. This part can be one of the most tedious and time-consuming, but don't worry too much. The cake will be beautiful once done. When you're happy with the ombre effect, chill the cake while we make the chocolate dipped strawberries. Melt the chocolate and shortening together, which adds smoothness to the chocolate. Then add the oil-soluble pink color a little at a time. Make sure the strawberries are clean and very well dried before dipping, otherwise the chocolate won't stick to the strawberries and any water will cause the chocolate to seize. Then place the chocolate dipped strawberries on a piece of parchment paper to set. While the chocolate is still wet, sprinkle on some coarse or sanding sugar for a sparkly effect. I'm also adding coarse sugar to the cake for that extra sparkle. The frosting is still soft, so I'm not pressing it in, rather just sprinkling it on to the top, and yes, it will make a mess, so that's why I'm doing this over a pan. I'm going to color the rest of the frosting pink to pipe rosettes on the top and a shell border on the bottom of the cake. Use an open start tip to pipe 8 rosettes on top of the cake. I made some decorations with the remaining chocolate, like this shard, or if you have mini molds, you can use those as well. And voila, we have a beautiful sparkling pink velvet champagne cake for tomorrow evening. The cake is still soft, but I want to show you how it looks inside, so I'm going to cut it anyways. Perfectly even layers of cake and cream cheese frosting. If you want more frosting, you'll have plenty with this one batch. The cake is moist, yet velvet looking. I'm not going to eat it just yet because I actually am going to save this for tomorrow night. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Wishing everyone a happy new year and happy baking. See you in 2025.